Ross Tucker, an NFL insider, recently leaked information on the Cleveland Browns' $32 million plan for Shedeur Sanders that no one was supposed to be aware of. The specifics are alarming.
What did you find out?
Yeah, so we asked Kevin in the production meeting on Saturday about the rookie quarterbacks, knowing that that's the storyline and knowing that there had been a report that, he wasn't even doing scout team. And he said that they have a very, very detailed minute-by-minute plan for both of those guys and really all of their rookies, which, by the way, it appears as if they have like an outstanding rookie draft class.
The league as a whole is reeling from NFL source Ross Tucker's shocking revelation regarding the Cleveland Browns' $32 million quarterback plans. The Browns have been quietly carrying out a grand scheme behind closed doors that no one anticipated, while everyone has been preoccupied with the turmoil surrounding their starting lineup. Tucker's revelation of Shedeur Sanders' preferential treatment is completely outrageous. We're discussing minute-by-minute development plans, exclusive post-practice sessions, and a tactic that has the potential to fundamentally alter our understanding of this business. The thing that has everyone talking, though, is this. This goes beyond merely cultivating talent. This concerns the Browns making a declaration that might upend the entire hierarchy of the 2026 selection class.
Draft class, this upcoming year's draft class, would be a better one for quarterbacks. Everybody's talking about, Nussmeier and Arch Manning and Drew Aller and all these guys. I got to be honest with you, I don't really think any of them are playing very well. I mean, I watch a lot of Penn State football living in Central PA. Aller's been just okay. Nussmeier had a crazy interception the other night, which I couldn't believe. Arch Manning's been a major disappointment.
Let me explain. You can be sure that something major is happening in Cleveland when an NFL insider like Ross Tucker begins disclosing information to 92.3, The Fan, as well as what he just disclosed. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes information that transforms everything, man. This is what transpired. I thought Tucker was having his typical breakdown. However, he then gives this brilliant insight into the Browns' treatment of their young quarterbacks. You may be thinking, oh, that's wonderful. Another scandal surrounding the Browns QB. But wait, this isn't the same. This is a premeditated action. The Browns are genuinely planning something here. For once, Tucker told us up front that Cleveland has a minute-by-minute strategy for Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel that is, in his words, quite comprehensive, nor some vague rules, nor some we'll figure out as we go along kind of thing.
Would disagree with Emory. I mean, the NFL might agree with Emory as far as Cam Ward's concerned, but pretty clearly the NFL would disagree with Emory as far as Shedeur Sanders is concerned. He's always been very, very high on Shedeur based on going back to Jackson State. Obviously the NFL does not agree with Emory's evaluation, but I thought that was very interesting because, the thought is you look at any mock draft, they have like 4 or 5 quarterbacks going in the first round, and then you watch.
Minute-by-minute planning is what we're discussing. Do you realize how absurd that degree of specificity is? That level of accuracy is more typical of championship teams than the Cleveland Browns of the previous 10 years. However, this is when things really go crazy. Remember all the earlier claims that Shedeur wasn't even receiving scout team representatives? Yes, Tucker just revealed that to be utter bullshit. In actuality, the Browns have produced a phenomenon known as the Shedeur era. This isn't anything I made up. They actually have a specific time window set aside for him. Imagine this sight. For everyone else, the practice is over. The cameras have been turned off. The majority of the media has left and gone home. However, Shedeur Sanders continues to get his extra 8 to 10 reps on the Cleveland practice field. Only he concentrated on his development. Only the Browns are making investments in what they obviously believe will be their future. I understand what some of you are thinking right now, but what about Dillon Gabriel? He is the backup, right? The thing is this. Gabriel is also receiving his reps. However, they are handling this matter like chess masters. As the number 2, Gabriel completes his work, but they are ensuring that Shedeur doesn't lag behind in their system. People, they're thinking long-term here. However, Hold off until you hear Tucker's remarks regarding the impending draft. It will astound you and fundamentally alter your perception of Shedeur's worth. Tucker then begins dissecting the quarterback class of 2026. This is when it gets heated. Fellas, he essentially expressed what we've all been considering, but we're afraid to express out. None of them seem to be playing particularly well, in my opinion. Consider that for a moment. At LSU, Garrett and Mir has been the talk of the town. The next generation of elite quarterbacks includes Drew Aller at Penn State, Arch Manning at Texas, and the golden boy with the golden name. According to NFL insider Ross Tucker, who spends his days watching tape, none of them are impressing him, Arch Manning. Tucker described him as a huge letdown. That isn't just a random YouTuber's hot take. That comes from a man with contacts all throughout the NFL. Manning was expected to be the next quarterback to inherit the throne and lead the Manning dynasty. Tucker, on the other hand, observes mediocrity in his games. And let's not even talk about Nussmeier. Tucker talked about that bizarre interception that left him perplexed. These are anticipated to be potential franchise quarterbacks and first-round picks. What do you truly see, though, when you go past the recruitment rankings and the buzz and watch the tape? This relates to our boy Shedeur and explains why the Browns' covert scheme is so brilliant. Because of Shedeur's draft position, everyone has been sleeping on him, but the Browns are seeing what the rest of the league has missed. They're looking at a quarterback who has demonstrated himself on several occasions, has the clutch gene, and can perform under pressure. However, this is where Tucker delivered the most contentious bomb of them, and Shedeur supporters will go completely crazy over it. When Emory Hunt appeared on Tucker's program, he said something that shocked the football community. He asserted that Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are superior to all the quarterbacks selected in the 2026 election. In response, Tucker stated that the NFL would not agree with that assessment of Shedeur. Hold on. Take a moment to process that. According to our knowledgeable analysis, Shedeur is superior than all of these overhyped collegiate quarterbacks. However, the NFL establishment doesn't believe it. Why? Due to their inability to overcome their own prejudices. Tucker even acknowledged that throughout his time at Jackson State, Hunt has been high on Shedeur, that in some way undermines his viewpoint. However, isn't that just what you're looking for in an assessor? Someone with the ability to recognize talent before others do. Someone who doesn't merely follow the herd. In actuality, we all understand why Shedeur lost in the 5th round. He lacked arm talent. The child is able to sling it. He was not accurate. Since the beginning, he has been accurate. His pocket presence wasn't it. He continues to deliver blows and has been hit since high school. No. Politics, preconceived conceptions, and the inability of some league members to distinguish the player from a noise were the reasons Shedeur fell. The Browns, however, saw through all of that bullshit. Cleveland was keeping an eye on the footage while other teams were concerned about media attention and personalities. They were witnessing a quarterback who turned Colorado into a must-watch television program. They were witnessing clutch plays, leadership, and an intangible mental toughness. Consider this. At Georgia, Carson Beck is having a fantastic season, and he's once again being discussed as a possible first-round pick. However, when he was having difficulties, where was all of this praise? These draft experts seem to be more interested in following the trend than in regularly assessing talent. Shedeur, meanwhile, has remained steady during his time at college. Jackson State became a champion under his leadership. Colorado went from being a laughingstock to a squad that no one wanted to play for. He has accomplished this at every level and against every kind of opposition. You will be shocked to learn what the Browns have planned for the future. Shedeur isn't the only player the Browns are developing for this campaign. They are setting him up for something far more significant. Getting him ready to play if necessary isn't the only goal of this minute-by-minute plan. The goal is to get him ready to be the guy. For a moment, consider their draft class. Tucker talked on how impressive their rookie class appears. They pose a serious danger with Isaiah Bond at receiver. Pierre Strong and Jerome Ford are in the backfield. Mason Graham is making defensive plays. This goes beyond hiring people at random. This involves assembling a full team from hungry young athletes. At the heart of it all is a quarterback who has been underappreciated by everyone, but the organization that matters most. The Browns are acting as wise clubs would. While everyone else is still attempting to understand their present, they are creating their future. This is what enrages me about the entire circumstance. The football community is so preoccupied with the locations of player drafts that they neglect to observe the players in action. Every day, Shedeur Sanders demonstrates that talent is more important than round numbers. The draft position is irrelevant to the character, and the only team intelligent enough to see it is the Browns. Are you curious about the significance of Tucker's disclosure of the unique Shedeur sessions? Because it demonstrates that Cleveland isn't merely assigning him hectic tasks. They're doing more than just keeping him content. They're spending money on him. Each practice adds up to 8 to 10 more reps. That means more defensive reads, more receiver timing, and more chemistry building. The Browns are treating Shedeur like a franchise quarterback who just so happened to fall to the 5th round, while other teams are treating their late-round quarterbacks as afterthoughts because some individuals are blind to the bigger picture. This is a section, though, that will cause every other NFL team to second-guess their selections. It appears that the 2026 draft is exactly what we anticipated. Expensive. Half the time, Arch Manning appears disoriented. As an upperclassman, Nuzmir is committing rookie errors. Drew Aller is merely surviving. It is said that these men are superior to Shedeur. Shedeur, meantime, is in Cleveland working with NFL coaches, learning NFL systems and improving daily. Shedeur is already getting used to the speed and intricacy of professional football, whereas those collegiate quarterbacks are still working on learning how to read college defenses consistently. The Browns anticipated this. They were aware that the class of 2026 would be disappointing. They therefore went out and nabbed their guy while no one was looking, rather than waiting and hoping to get lucky in the draft. It's not luck. That's shrewd teamwork. The thing that will harm other teams the most is this. Shedeur will have developed so much more than those collegiate quarterbacks by the time the 2026 draft comes around that it won't even be close. He will already have a year or two of professional experience, even though they are still learning how to read NFL defenses and deal with media attention.